My name is Louis Green. I've lived in Brazil for almost 45 years. I heard of two very interesting people, one named Abel Packer and one named Rogério Meneghini. Abel was a bibliotecario, a computer nerd. Rogério was an important assessor of FAPES and an outstanding biochemist at USP in Sao Paulo. I didn't know them. The only thing I knew about them, they were interesting. So I said, let's invite them. So we invited them. It turned out they didn't know each other. I introduced them to each other. For this reason, I claim to be the midwife of SciELO. And the rest is history. At that time, we waited for the airmail copy of Nature to arrive at Biremi so that we could ask for a copy. Garfield had started ISI, current contents was there. We knew what was going on, but we couldn't read it. In 1980, we assumed a journal whose editor was retiring. We took his journal over, not for his charm or the journal, but because he was in ISI. We knew where we wanted to be, we just didn't know how to get there. And we started publishing the Brazilian Journal of Medical and Biological Research. And we had the audacity to create a journal that was 100% English. That caused quite a scandal. So we started with ISI, with a good journal, but until SciELO, we were completely frustrated. What we didn't realize was there wasn't enough Brazilian good science, and to some extent it's still true. We had to print 500 to 1,000, but the Brazilians weren't reading it. I was shocked to go to other universities and see literally hundreds of papers, journals, in the lixo, in the garbage. The students weren't able to read it, and the docents weren't interested in it. Journals in that time depended on subscription. And even at that time, the mail was very expensive. So I said, well, we'll meet them halfway. We offered to waive the subscription if they paid the correo. Would you believe we didn't get one answer? Not even my friends answered me. How are my friends in New York City going to know about that platform? So I thought, well, maybe we should make an ad in Nature. Say, SciELO is here. If you want to know about Latin American things, go to the platform. That was not a good idea. SciELO, through a bell, in contact with ISI, connected with SciELO to Web of Science. So my friend in New York, who saw a paper that I wrote in a Brazilian journal, or any paper, clicked, and he was in SciELO. He didn't have to know the address. That, for me, was the most important thing, because that opened the access. SciELO was not greeted with open arms in Brazil. The editors were afraid that SciELO would enter their political space. I did participate in the initial part of SciELO. I was on the Conselho, and our job was to formulate considerations for entry. What Abel did was to take 10 journals, Brazilian journals, already in ISI. Then we had the terrible job of creating criteria in an inbred scientific establishment with an overactive intramural fighting between departments, universities, and we had to try to get something that was objective and fair. This took about 8 years. We sent a lot of people back as good journal people, they all got a Paris there. We weren't terribly popular because there were a lot of journals in Brazil then, and there may be now, I don't know, that never should be journals. When you get into intramural area fights, it gets very, very heavy, and we were there. We did the best we could. I think we did well. And this was the beginning of the visibility of SciELO as an organ that created and enforced criteria. But it never entered the space of the editor. It essentially said, I will enforce the rules for entering SciELO, but I won't go into your area. And this was very important in winning journals. Abel, I keep saying Abel because for me, Abel and SciELO are synonymous. Rogerio participated in it, but SciELO is Abel fact. To introduce things in Brazil in a very subtle way, and sometimes not so subtle, but they changed Brazilian journal. In looking back, 30 years of Abel, 20 years of SciELO, things have improved, but a very complicated parameter called impact or quality has essentially not improved very much. I think SciELO has to continue because what it is doing is important. The future will have new challenges, new technology, and SciELO has to be guaranteed to survive. SciELO's job will never be finished. We have to think of new objectives, not to substitute, but to complement. Thank you for listening.